Hey guys, it's me Jen. I'm coming to you from my home studio, and today we are going to be learning about steampunk bracelet jewelry making. So we should have a fun time. You have been grabbing kits at your libraries, and the reason you can do that is because of the Legacy Amendment. So I like to mention that that is why we can come together. So in 2008, the state of Minnesota passed the Legacy Amendment, and it gives a tiny portion of taxpayer dollars back to libraries each year to promote arts and cultural heritage. So you get to see things at your library like musical events and artist events and arts and crafts and author events, and so support that stuff. And that's how it's made possible, is from the Legacy Amendment. So with that, let us begin our steampunk kit workshop. In your kit, you are going to get a picture of a steampunk bracelet. You are going to get a piece of leather. This is pre-punched, and so it has 4 holes on the one side, 3 or 4 holes, and then 1 hole on the other side. You're going to be getting instructions, and you are going to be getting a baggie, and this has the 2 parts of your hitch fastener for your bracelet and a little toothpick. We're going to use that for the glue. And you are going to get a little bottle of the E6000. That's how we're going to glue all of our pieces down. And you are going to get a bag. This is the fun part. You are going to get a little baggie of pieces of technology. So let's talk a little bit about steampunk. Steampunk is a fun... Steampunk uses pieces of technology in its design, and you'll see steampunk in architecture and fashion, and you'll see steampunk in jewelry. So in your bag, you will find watch parts, cogs, the inner workings of the watches, and a lot of times that's what you will find in steampunk jewelry. The first thing that we want to do is lay out all of our supplies like this, and you also want, I always have a little, you could get a paper towel, maybe a wet paper towel or a rag, and have that beside you. When we're working with this E6000 glue, if it gets messy, you want to be able to wipe that up. So, and then you also want to have a scissors nearby. Grab the sharpest scissors that you have. We are going to be trimming our piece of leather that we're using for our bracelet. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is work with our leather bracelet and make it fit our wrist. We're going to be putting on our hitch fastener. Your hitch fastener comes in this little plastic baggie, and so I'm going to take that out. Oops. And it comes in 2 parts. So we have the screw part, and then we have the ball, and the ball screws on to the screw. You're going to want to find the end of your bracelet that has the 1 single hole. That is where your hitch fastener screws onto. You are going to take your screw and you are going to put it through that hole, coming through to the top. Now, before you do that, you can decide which side of the leather you want to work with. So this is the smooth side, and then there's also the suede side that's underneath. You could use either part of this, either side of this for your bracelet. Okay. So once you decide that, then you can put your fastener on. So you want to put the screw underneath and go through the single hole side of your bracelet. And then you want to take your ball side. Oh my goodness, it's a slippery little guy. And screw that on real tight. So hold the bottom part of the screw and screw that on really tight. Now there's a few different things you can do with this also to make sure it's on really tight. So underneath is a little indent, and you can stick a screwdriver in there and you can screw it on really tight. You can also take your E6000 and you can put a tiny drop of your E6000 on the screw head, and I mean tiny, just a tiny drop there before you screw this on. I don't want your hitch fastener to ever come unscrewed. So you can do it by hand, you can do it with a screwdriver, you can add a tiny bit of the glue, okay? So there we go, our hitch fastener is on. Now how this works is this other side of your bracelet comes around and fits, the hole fits right over your hitch fastener. Now, this is very tight for me. You want it to be tight. Leather stretches, and so it will get looser over time, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna try it on, right? And then we're gonna decide which hole works best for us. You guys, when you're fitting your bracelet, you may want this particular bracelet to be on the tighter side, okay? The pieces of technology, the design elements that we're using on the bracelet are heavier typically, and so that's gonna want to fall down, right? So if you fit your bracelet on the tighter side, you will make sure that your design is always on the top of your wrist like so. And then we're going to make sure it goes on there. Now, if you work at it and you find that you can't get it over your hole, what you can do with your scissors is you can just take it and cut it, make a little tiny slit at the base of your hole. That will allow the hitch fastener to go over. Okay? Do that at a last resort. Like I said, if you can get it over there, wiggle it over there, that would be better because you'll have a nice tight fit. Now, the other thing you can do, like this is a bit big for me. I have a teensy wrist, so I would want my hole right here ideally. So if your piece of leather is too big for you and you need a new hole in it, you could just fold this over like so where you want your hole to be, and take your scissors and give it a little slit. Tiny little slit that can serve as your hole that can go over the hitch fastener. So remember to do a tiny one because you can always make it a little bit bigger. You want it to be tight, okay? So once you get it sized the way that you want it, then you're gonna cut off the excess. So I'm gonna make it my size right now. I'm gonna make my little slit right here. Let's see how that fits. Now sometimes, what's fun about these hitch fasteners is they're very easy to get on and off, and they're also adjustable. So you could use a couple of these holes Sometimes what I do is I put it through like so, and then I put it back over another hole. So I'm leaving 2 holes on here, and then it can be adjustable, and then it can be a tighter fit. So that's an option. But once you have it your chosen size, then you can cut off the excess. So unless I want to leave it like this, leave it like, this wouldn't be bad. I may do that. I may leave some more if I can get this over. I'm gonna just give this a little slit. This is very tight for me. Did you see just a teensy tiny slit? And then let's see, get that over there. It's always better to leave more leather than less, just in case you want to do something different with it. So now this is how I want my bracelet to be at the clasp, and then I'm gonna take this leather and I'm gonna cut it off. So you could cut it straight across, you could do something fun with it. I'm gonna do a little V here. So I'm gonna take my sharp scissors and I'm just going to cut this off. There. That's how my clasp is going to be. Now that we have our bracelet sized, I've taken my bracelet off because we're going to now use the center area and we are going to design our steampunk bracelet. So this is the really fun part. Now, just a note that I really want to make sure that you guys are being creative. So I want to lead you through this, and I want you to also do whatever it is you can imagine. So have fun with it. So let's begin by looking at our steampunk elements. Now, remember that gluing these down is going to be your last part of this. And so what we want to do now is we want to kind of just play around with this and see what we want, how we want it to look, what we want it to look like. So this is what I've done on this one. You guys can use, you don't have to use all of the materials by any means. Maybe you have something at home that you think would be really fun. You should incorporate that as well. So this would be the time to get anything you might think would be fun that you have. So I'm just gonna play around with this. I'm gonna lay my piece of leather out and I am going to start laying my pieces out. Now, I have a little note in your kits and it says just to be careful because these different parts, pieces of technology, can be sharp. And so the sharp parts, or sometimes a lot of these cutesy little watch faces, on the back, they have these little pokey out parts. And so this is how your watch face fit into the movement. And so just be careful of these little guys, and we're gonna stick these, just set these down onto our leather so it's not an issue, and the glue is gonna keep it held down really good. But just do be careful when you're playing around with them. They can have sharp parts. All right, you guys, I think I have my design. I'm super excited. Okay, so now I need to think about how I want to glue this on. So let's talk a little bit about the E6000 glue that we're going to be using. So I love this stuff. It works fabulous. You have more than enough to glue down everything on your bracelet. Here's some things to know about it. This glue takes up to 72 hours to dry. So what I did was I glued all my parts down on my bracelet, and then I set it aside for 72 hours. Now, on the package, it does say that if you want to speed up drying time, that you can use a blow dryer on a low setting and blow dry it. Okay? I have not tried that, so I don't know how that works. In a few hours, this glue is really set up, and so what that means is that it's pretty solid, but I waited 72 hours before I wore this bracelet, and I want this to last for you guys and be a quality piece, and so that is my recommendation, is to wait the 72 hours to wear it. So let's talk about applying this. Now, I have a little toothpick in your kit, and we are going to use that toothpick to be spreading the glue evenly around our piece and before we put it onto the leather. This glue is very, very bendable, which is awesome. So you can see here, I mean, it bends great, it works fabulous. Before you glue, you want to decide where exactly you want to glue. You don't need to glue all the parts maybe. So like, let's look at this for example. This was a part that was really bendy around my wrist, and I'm like, you know, I had glued this part, I had glued this part, I'm like, I don't even need to glue this part. And so this glue holds super well. You just want to be mindful of the parts that you're gluing. I'm going to show you how much glue to use on the pieces. So we don't want to go crazy here. We don't also want this glue gushing everywhere. Make sure you have a paper towel. I have a little rag that I'm going to use in case that happens. So let's open this up. So it needs to be broken, the top needs to be broken, which is in the lid of this. So you can just go like this. Now don't do this until you are ready to start gluing. So have your design laying there the way you want it to look, and then that will allow for kind of lay your bracelet, your piece of leather, right there, so you know where you're going to want to be putting these pieces. And so this turns out just the way you want it to. So I'm going to pop the top on this. This glue is ready to go. Okay. All right. So what I am going to do first, I think I'm going to do lay the chain in there at the very end of mine. So I'm going to just start on this end right here. I'll lay that over here. I want to show you close up. So I'm going to maybe like that much. Okay. Then I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm going to make sure it's everywhere. Now you can do this with the E6000 bottle too if you want. As you're putting it on, you can kind of spread it around there, and then you're gonna put it down. So already I was wondering what angle do I put this at? So you want to make sure that you're just being mindful of where you want each piece to lay, and then give it a nice press down the entire watch face, okay? Okay, so now this button is going on top of this piece, and I think I want this piece like so. So I'm gonna lift it up. There. And spread it around with that. There, you can see which I have on there, and down. So I'm gonna leave a little space in between these two where I want to put my chain, okay? And then this little button. So this little button doesn't fit in there perfectly, but the glue will hold it where it is touching each other. So I can see it, you want to see, look and see where it's touching each other. So it's touching over here and over here. So that's where I want to put my glue. A spot here, a spot there, and down. Okay. There. All right, looking good. Okay, now this is one of those watch faces that has the two little pegs sticking up and back of there. Okay, so what I did with this one is I just, obviously you want the pegs down, and then I'm gonna also cover up this little stem of this watch because I don't want that poking me. So I'm gonna cover that up, okay? And I am going to lay, so I can see here how I want that to lay. That's gonna be hitting right there, down here, and so that's where I'm gonna glue, okay? And then maybe I'll just hit a little spot on here too, because it's gonna be on there, okay? There. Now, with this, because of those pegs, that's not how I wanted it. Okay, so I am gonna kind of just lift my leather up to touch the back side of that face, making sure the peg is down. You don't want to be punching the peg through the leather. You want it to sit on the leather, but you also just want to press down so that the watch face sits on there. Okay. Now here's a part, so I actually, that didn't work to set it on there. So I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm going to scrape off that glue. This glue dries clear, and so it's okay that it's on there, but I don't really want it on there, so I'm gonna take it off like that. Okay, I'm almost done. So now I'm just going to take my chain and I'm gonna lay it around in here. So what I'm gonna do for this, because I have kind of finer chain in this kit that I got, I'm going to put some glue down on the leather where I'm gonna be working. So this side, it's kind of a smaller blob. I don't suggest that you lift this up as you're working on it like I'm doing, because your pieces can go flying off of there. So then I'm gonna have my toothpick ready, and then I'm just going to kind of lay it in the glue. I can add glue if I need to. So for this design, I'm just making sure that the end of my chain got in that glue so the end doesn't come off. And then I'm gonna just kind of play around with this. Like I said, not all parts need to be in the glue, but the parts, oh, now this would be really cute. I'm gonna wrap this around here. So I'm gonna add a little bit more glue, not even necessarily to there, though if you have it on your toothpick, you can put that down. See, this is already starting to dry, so You need to be using the E6000, you know, ideally to make it the easiest within a few minutes. So once it hits the air, it starts to dry. Okay, so now I'm gonna go around this watch face. This is gonna be cute. Okay, now some of my glue is kind of popping out of there that I can see, but it's okay because it dries clear, and so I feel like it'll be fine. Then I'm gonna wrap it around this, or maybe I can make a little cute loopsies. I don't know. Let's see, or should I go like that? That could be kind of cute. I'm gonna do that. So I'm going to just dot a little bit of this on. Oh, another thing is if you're working with your design and you're not gonna be gluing for a little bit, put the lid back on here, because otherwise it'll get dried up at the where it's coming out. I'm gonna put a little bit more down just for the end of my chain. Okay. Like I have a few pieces of glue that are around here, but I'm not gonna mess with those right now. I'm gonna let this dry, and after it dries, it'll just come right off. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm going to see about this chain. I want to make sure that the gold is in here. So I think I'm going to start like this. So I'm going to do my drop of glue right there to begin with. You want to be starting at the bottom when you squeeze this out, and it comes really quick out, so just a tiny squeeze is all you need. Now I'm gonna put my top on, and so it doesn't spread out anymore as I'm working on this. This is gonna take me a bit. This is a lot of glue that I put in this area. I ideally didn't want this much. So a little amount is better. You can always add more. You can really almost cover up this chain. I mean, it can be pretty goopy because it dries clear. All right, so this is in there good. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to wind this around this watch face, around here, and then maybe back outside of here. Like so. All right, so little by little I'm gonna do this. And if, like, I just want a line around this right now, I might want to get the dried glue off my toothpick, and then I might want to just put a little bit of glue on my toothpick and do this so it doesn't get everywhere. Okay? And again, you don't need to put the glue every single place that your chain is going to be, because where you do have it, it is going to hold good. But maybe put a little bit more over here, like so, and then a bigger dollop there. Then I'm going to put the lid back on. Okay. So then pressing it with my toothpick, make sure it's in there, and then playing around with this. Oops. I thought it would be fun to see where that gold and black met, but I don't know that is going to work now that I'm putting it in here. You have to be up for whatever when you're designing, right? Okay, so that looks kind of cute though. So now I'm going to bring it back. This is probably a little bit more difficult because my chain is so thin. So there are so many different materials in these steampunk kits, you guys. Everybody got a little something different. So I am so very excited to see what you create. please, if you could post some photos to my Jen Anfinson Studio page on Facebook. I also have a page on Instagram under that name. That would be so amazing. I want to see what you guys are making and how it turns out. So I'm just kind of going little by little. It's such a fun process. I do not need to rush it. And then I think let's see what I want to do. I'll press that down in there. How should I run this? Should I do that? It's kind of fun. That's what I did on the other side too. Or do I want it more just grouped in? I think I'm gonna do it more like so. So again, just kind of put the glue where I want it to be. And the lid back up. I think little by little. So as you're doing this kind of part, you see, don't put the end in until the end. Do it little by little. So I didn't put enough glue in there really to get, so I need to add a little bit more to get all the chain in there. That should do good. That should be enough. We are getting to the end of this. You guys, also, if you are a Facebooker or an Instagrammer, you can follow my Jen Anfinson Studio pages, and you can see I post things, what I'm up to, my projects, what I'm making. I also post my events, so I have had the pleasure to I usually do come to your locations and do classes. Last summer I was there, and hopefully I will maybe coming in the future. So you can check that out on my studio page as well. All right, let's take a look at this. Oh, there my dog is barking. Hope you don't mind that. All right, you guys, here is my finished project. I love it. It is fun. Now I want to make sure that I've glued all my parts down good. You can kind of, after you're done with your whole thing, you can kind of take a finger on the top, a finger underneath your leather, and kind of give it a nice push down there. Don't go on parts where don't hit the glue, but press those solid parts down. Now here, these little glue pieces that you see, these will all scrape off. So that I'm just gonna leave for now. Everything else will dry clear. Thanks for creating with me, you guys.